I would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the Koori people who always have and always will own the land that we are meeting on today, and I thank them for welcoming me. Mina tunaki, mina nari mata, krakataka, takamona rala, waitakutana luutina ningina, nina lakakawa nianta. I would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the elders and other Aboriginal leaders who have paved the way for future generations of proud, strong Aboriginal people. Mina tunaki, ningina nari waiti karati, waita lakakawa nina, takamona, nikita wainta wala wala. I would also like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the many non-Aboriginal people who have had the courage and understanding to stand beside us in our struggle for justice and rights. Before the white invasion of Australia in 1788, Aboriginal people had full control of their lives and destinies. We had our own laws, our own education system. We had exclusive rights over this whole country, its islands and its seas. To put it in modern terms, we were a sovereign people. Since then, white people have dominated our lives. Countless generations of Aborigines have grown up being forced to accept that white people are the ones that make all the decisions about our lives. Our children are forced to speak English and stand up in school assemblies singing a national anthem about a young and free nation, even though the Aboriginal society has been here since time began. And you only have to look at Aborigines in the Northern Territory whose welfare payments are being quarantined to know that we are clearly not free. The statistics are horrifying. Our people die 20 years younger, we're 12 times more likely to be imprisoned, our infant mortality rate is so much higher, our health standards are like that of third world countries. We have had enough. No longer can we accept that Aboriginal self-determination is just a distant dream. Our right to determine our own futures has not been lost, but it seems to have been forgotten. We are so busy having to react to oppressive government policies that we forget about the importance of coming together as a people to decide where it is that we want to be in the next 20 or 30 years. But history also shows that Aboriginal sovereignty has never been far away. Paul Coe sued the Commonwealth over sovereignty in 1978. Kevin Gilbert wrote about sovereignty in his book entitled Treaty 88, and the Aboriginal Provisional Government was established in 1990. The Central Australian Aboriginal Organisation said it all in 1983 when they stated that we have never conceded defeat and will continue to resist this ongoing attempt to subjugate us. The Aboriginal people have never surrendered to the European invasion and assert that sovereignty over all of Australia lies with them. The settler state has been set up on Aboriginal land. We demand that the colonial settlers who have seized the land recognise this sovereignty and on that basis negotiate their rights to be there. Our struggle is like that of Palestinians, East Timorese and Cuba. We want our day. The invasion of Holland, Belgium, Poland and France during the Second World War prevented them exercising sovereignty, but no one disputes that sovereignty still resided in the occupied peoples. The same applies with Afghanistan and Iraq in more recent times. Why would it be any different for Aborigines? The Constitution shows that white people agreed to the establishment of an Australian nation, but there's nothing to show that Aborigines agreed to the establishment of this new nation, and there is certainly no evidence to suggest that we agreed to be part of it. The assertion that there is a single sovereign people in Australia, the Australian people, is based on superiority. Who says there is only one sovereign? And who gave that group the right to make the decision? The idea that Australia is one nation is a familiar chant. I can't imagine any Aborigine in this country who hasn't felt the pressures of today's society to live and act like white people. Any Aborigine who attempts to assert their sovereign right is seen as a troublemaker and is accused of promoting separatism. Those of us who refuse to celebrate the beginning of the invasion of our lands on January 26 each year are told to move on and forget the past. But every Anzac Day, the country comes to a standstill in recognition of wars that took place in other parts of the world over 100 years ago. When public discussions about equality take take place, it's usually in relation to equal access to goods and services and equality of opportunity. This is the basis for the various anti-discrimination laws around Australia. The anti-racial vilification laws are based on the need to create an equal opportunity for blacks to freely participate in public life without fear of being vilified because of their race. Anti-discrimination laws can be very effective on an individual level, but the same cannot be said for collective discrimination against Aborigines. The human rights and anti-discrimination bodies stood by helplessly when the invasive, discriminatory and backward-thinking Northern Territory intervention laws were passed. The Parliament simply took a vote to disallow the Racial Discrimination Act protection of Aborigines targeted by the law. We as a people have rights that no others in Australia can legitimately claim. We must stand up and demand our rights as the original people of this land. I'm not talking about Aboriginal jobs in government departments or more work for the dole schemes for Aboriginal people. I'm talking about the right to our country, the right to self-determination, the right to our own government. We want to be the ones that decide our own destinies. We want to be the ones in control of our own lives. No longer should we have to plead with governments for land returns. No longer should we be forced to march the streets to have our voices heard. We have a right to self-governance. Under the Aboriginal Provisional Government, we would have the power to reject racist policies such as the Northern Territory intervention, and the Australian Government would have no right to override any decisions made by the Aboriginal Government, and vice versa. Some may wonder how you could possibly have more than one government in Australia. Currently there are 6 state, 2 territory and 337 local governments. Is there not room for one more for the original people of this land? If we were to have our own government, it would not sit under the Australian government, but alongside it. If we were to become a sovereign nation, we would need the return of Crown land. And rather than Aborigines from across the country having to relocate to one area of land, we could have land spread across the country to enable Aboriginal communities to live on their traditional homelands if they choose to do so. Some may choose to continue to live in the cities or the country. The most important thing is that the choice is there for them to make, a choice that we don't have at the moment. While some scoff at the strange boundaries such a division of land would create, it's not unusual in other countries. For example, the United States is a nation, yet is completely separate from its territory in Alaska. Hawaii is halfway around the other side of the world, but no one questions the jurisdiction of the United States. Enough land would be returned to Aboriginal communities throughout Australia to enable us to survive as a nation of people, and the remaining land would be kept by white people and their government as a basis for them to continue their nation. Forget native title. Let's do a deal. Let's sign a treaty. But how do we get there from here? When the APG was first established, it had 1,000 paid-up Aboriginal members and 1,500 white associate members who were just as eager to be part of the struggle for Aboriginal sovereignty as what we were. Aboriginal sovereignty requires a joint effort. We can't fight alone. We need people like you in this room, our friends, people who can help bring about change. We need a new movement of people who understand the meaning of Aboriginal self-determination, people who understand the real meaning of Aboriginal sovereignty. We need people to show the country that there is no longer a need for white supremacy and domination of Aboriginal people, and that we can live together in harmony, side by side, with mutual respect as nations, not one dominating the other. We need people power. People power is what changed the 1967 referendum. People power is what ended the Vietnam War. We are ready to take our place alongside the Cubans, alongside our brothers and sisters in Chile and Venezuela, like our Indian brothers and sisters in Central and North America, not as a people dominated by our invaders who have convinced us of their superiority. No, we want to be able to take our place amongst the nations of the world as a people proud and free. Thank you.